We are live now. Hi, everyone. Let us know in the comments if you are here live with us. We are so excited for today. We're doing a lettering party.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. For us, it's noon, so it's middle of the day. But I already know that we have people joining from all over the place. So let us know in the comments if you can see and hear us okay. We're excited to do some Valentine calligraphy over the next 45 minutes or so.
All
Great.
right, so thanks all for being here. So we are Jillian and Jordan. I'm Jordan, and that's Jillian.
I'm Jillian.
We are twin sisters. We are the founders of Lovely Loops. And I know that a lot of you here watching this already know who we are from calligraphy school. So shout out to everyone here who is joining us that's in calligraphy school. And also shout out to everyone here that is new to calligraphy. We are glad to have you here.
Yeah, so just a little background on us before we dive in. We are twin sisters. We've been teaching calligraphy online since 2017. We've taught tons of calligraphy courses over the years, from flourishing to bounce lettering to traditional calligraphy and iPad calligraphy. And then our most recent membership is, which we opened like about 6 months ago or less, was all about modern calligraphy using brush pens, and that's what we'll be mainly doing today. But I will show you a couple different tools you could use if you don't have brush pens, like regular pens and Crayolas. If you didn't get a chance already, there is a worksheet that goes along with today that you can download from the link in the comments. And also, don't forget this is being recorded, so we're live now, but right after this ends, you should be able to rewatch this whole thing at the same link. So if you miss something or you just want to watch it again, just go to this link again. And for the most part, we'll be flipping the camera around for the calligraphy demo on paper. And Jordan, did you have anything else before I set up my camera to get started?
No, that's it. Jillian is going to be teaching the calligraphy portion of the workshop today, and then I'll come back at the end to show you a little surprise that our calligraphy school members are going to get. So stick around for that. And otherwise, just have fun, enjoy the workshop. You can follow along if you'd like, or you can rewatch it and come back to it when you have time. And yeah, thanks again for being here.
Yes. Okay. So we are doing this a little different from if you've joined any of our past workshops. We're excited to try out using YouTube, and we're also trying to just get right into the workshop and not waste too much time. So hopefully you guys enjoy this format. Okay. So just to show you sort of what the end product will end up looking like. Also, can someone confirm on my camera, this is like a mirrored, but Jordan, does this look okay? Like it's not backwards. Um,
It's
the
correct.
this is Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to be looking at my own handwriting backwards, which is fine if you guys can see it. Okay, so we're going to be using this worksheet. Again, if you have a chance to print it, we're going to go over how to use these small brush pens, how to trace this worksheet, and then you would be able to use, we're going to focus on this phrase, but you could use the one on top to turn it into a Valentine card. So I'll show you how you can transfer a design like this to a card. And then I also have some fun tips at the end I'm going to share of different effects you could add, different finishing touches, different tools that you can use, and some other ideas of how you can make it look a little less like just tracing calligraphy and a little bit more like a finished product. So I'm excited for that portion. For now, you don't have to have a card with you. I will tell you the dimensions of what I'm using, but you can always just keep in mind the technique that I'm going to show you. Also, I do want to point out, please chat away in the comments. I can't see the comments right now. So if there are questions, I will be able to answer them at the end, or there are also tons of helpful people in the chat who can probably help if you have a specific question. All right, and thank you again for joining. So the brush pens that I am going to be using today are small tipped brush pens. There are a variety of different kinds. I'm using these. These are called Pentel. Pentel is the brand. And these are Pentel brush pens. They have a flexible tip. And I have this pack that I think this is the 24 pack of colors. If you have a different small tip brush pen, such as this one, the Tombow from Nosuke, or any other small tip brush pen, you're welcome to use it. I thought I would start off by just doing some warm-ups, and we're just going to do it on at the very top of this worksheet just to sort of warm up the hand. I definitely need it. I have a 2.5 month old baby, and my wrists just from holding her are like always stiff now. So I'm just going to go to the top of this page and take my brush pen and just something I want to point out is if my paper is level like this, I usually turn my paper a little bit, rotate it um, this way. If you're left-handed, you might want to rotate it the other way, whatever feels comfortable, but I will rotate mine a little bit. And then for a brush pens have a flexible tip. So if you press harder on the pen, you get a thicker line. And if you use less pressure on the line, or on the pen, you get a thinner line so that you can get a contrast between thick and thin. I'd actually love to know, for those of you watching, if you are brand new, let me know. Oh wait, but I can't see the comments. Well, hopefully, if you are brand new, then this is like a key insight for you. Is anywhere in calligraphy that you have a downstroke of your letters, the line should be thick for this style of calligraphy, and anywhere that your line goes up, you have a thin stroke, and the way you achieve that is by different amounts of pressure on your brush pen. But it's also just a good way to warm up is by doing some thick strokes, trying to get them even with each other, same width. You don't have to press as hard as you possibly can on the brush pen. See, if I press really hard, I can get a thicker line, but then it's just can be kind of hard on your wrist and hard on your pen as well. Okay, so we have our thick strokes, and then we have thin strokes. Thin strokes are usually a little bit trickier at the beginning because it requires using a lighter hand. Sometimes they can look a little bit shaky, which is normal. It'll get easier the more you practice if you otherwise have a heavy or a steady hand. And then I always liked when I'm warming up to just kind of go back and forth between thick and thin. You could either do thick, thin, alternating with straight strokes like this, or you could do more like curves, like underturn, overturn, or put them together and just do some wavy lines like this. Just again, we're just getting our hands warmed up. Okay, I feel like my hand is now starting to get a little bit warmed up. So I'm going to go down to this part of the worksheet. And what I would love to do today is just this is called a lettering party. I know that I'm sharing tips and it's kind of like a lesson, but one of the best parts about the hobby of calligraphy is that it's calming and relaxing and enjoyable. So even if all we're doing today is, or all you're doing today is just taking this time to enjoy calligraphy with us, to enjoy tracing something, not having the pressure of creating something from scratch, but just tracing what I've already made for you on this worksheet. That is like you can create for the sake of creating. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to do a full in-depth lesson here. You can just enjoy this. So the way this worksheet works is I have arrows and numbers. So you'll want to look for each number to know where to start each stroke. And then the arrow just shows you the direction it can go in. And I will say too, some of these arrows or these numbers are optional. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it together how it is on the worksheet. Okay, so I'm going to start for the love you to the moon and back with the L. So we have the first stroke starts here. Going to go out to the left, up. Use heavier pressure on this downstroke to create a thick stroke, and then lift the pen here because the number 2 is where the next stroke will start. Okay, then we're going to start right where we left off and do a horizontal wavy line. I'm going to go slow at the beginning and then I'll kind of pick up the pace a little bit. Also, I did find a way now that I can see the comments, so if you do have questions, I'll do my best to answer them as we go. Okay, next we have the O. So we're going to start here, use heavy pressure to come down and then release the pressure as we're coming up and around. Okay, the V is going to start at the top and kind of curve down into the left. Curve down into the left and then go straight up into the upstroke. And then the exit of the V just kind of comes down and finishes here. Now, I know some of you are like, wait a minute, didn't you just say that all your downstrokes are thick strokes? And this was a downstroke and this was not thick. And actually, same with the first part of the L, you can see I made mine thin. So there are some exceptions where little pieces of the letter can be thin if it's not a core part of the letter. Oh, actually, even this part of the O comes down. So like you can imagine if the V looked like this instead with a super thick line, it gives it a different look and it can sometimes even take away from the letter itself, which is why in this worksheet I have the exit piece of the V is a thin line. Okay, then we've got the E coming around and up. And congratulations, we've done the first word. Let me know how things are going in the comments. But we'll just move right along here. So one tip for anytime you have a downstroke that starts with a straight line, like this part of the Y or this part of the Y, if you press your pen down and then pull it down instead of adding pressure as you go, it'll look a little bit nicer. So at the top of the stroke, I'm going to use full pressure, then start my stroke and trace it. And I do want to also say that it's okay if you aren't tracing this template exactly perfectly. Like if you can see, I have gotten a little bit off the line in some spots. That is totally fine. Let me zoom this in a little bit, actually. It's okay if you don't trace it perfectly because I'd rather you have a smooth stroke that pretty much traces the line versus being so worried about tracing it exactly that it ends up being a little shaky. Because if you go too slowly, sometimes it can get shaky. Okay, so for the T, we have the downstroke. I like to make these crossbars wavy for my T's. Oops. And finish off the 2. Good, it sounds like it's going great so far. In the comments, let me know if there's any questions that have come up. Okay, next we're going to do the. So we've got the T stem, and then this is fun. Anytime you have a T and H next to each other, you could try this. You could take the crossbar of the T and go directly into the loop of the H, up, down, like this. And that adds a little bit of fun character. Okay. All right. I do have a bunch of little star decorations and a moon. We're going to do those at the end to go along with the phrase. So the word moon now I've got in capital letters instead of calligraphy. It's going to be the same idea where our downstrokes are going to be thick and upstrokes are thin. So down, thick, upstrokes are thin, and it's upstrokes and horizontal strokes and anything that's not a downstroke will be thin. Okay, and then this word actually has 2 letters that most people, if they're a complete beginner, are going to make a mistake on. A lot of people, and I used to do this too, would start, if I said to do an M, you'd probably start by drawing this stem down, okay, and then you'd probably go down, thick, up, thin, down, thick. So it would look like that. Or the N would be down, thick, and then whoops, another thick line down, and then thin up. So we're going to try not to do that. We're going to start the M and the N on the baseline, which you can see here where the number 1 is, so that these go up, so that this is a thin line. So up here, then down, then up, then down. And that just gives it a better look than here where you have too many thick lines. The same thing would be true with a capital A. So the A would start at the baseline and come up and down so that the thick line would be here instead of having two thick lines for your A. Just a fun fact. Oh, I see a question. On the letter H, when it starts as thin, do you suggest to stop towards the top and then start again? Yes, you could absolutely do that. So I think what you're asking is it okay to lift your pen here? And yes, you could definitely do that. You could, let me do it up here. So you could do the stem of your H, then you could lift your pen here, and then before you start the downstroke, that kind of lets you reposition your hand because otherwise that is a very long stroke. It's kind of the same reason why I said to lift your pen at this point in the L. You could actually do the L if you wanted to do it all in one stroke like this. Oh, you couldn't see it. It was off screen. Okay, you could do the L all in one, or you could lift it here so that gives you a chance to reposition your hand. So either way, you just don't want to lift your pen. So the places you would want to lift would be at the very top or like very edge of a curve. You wouldn't want to lift it like in the middle of a thin line or the middle of a thick line because that's going to make it hard to match up your pen. Oh, wait, on the number three stroke. Oh, okay, but yeah, same thing would apply to this stroke. So this stroke of the H, which is called a compound curve, you could, um, so you could do the first stroke thin, lift your pen here, then do the rest of it. Actually, there are a lot of people who do the opposite. They do the first part and then they lift their pen at the bottom and then they do the rest. So you could lift it at that point or that point. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Okay, so we're going to finish off moon with thick downstrokes, thin upstrokes. Again, the letter N starts at the baseline and goes up, down, up. And then we'll finish tracing the rest of the quote. So, and starts with an entrance stroke, and then the oval. For this worksheet, I have the oval starting right where that 2 is, so we can go up, down, up. If you have knowledge of cursive, you may be tempted to go straight into your A without lifting your pen. You don't want to do that in calligraphy. We lift our pen a lot more in calligraphy, even though the letters look like they are connected. The strokes actually have lots of lifts in them because it just gives you a nicer result. Okay, let me know how you guys are doing. Okay, so I've got one more word here for the word love you to the moon and back. I'm going to do back, starting the B with a little bit of a flourish on the entry. Then here for the B, we've got this piece starting at the bottom of that stem and coming up around, and then I'm going to suggest lifting here because the rest of the stroke is going to curve out like this. Okay, I see a question. Let me finish tracing this word and then I can take a look. Okay, and then we're going to start the oval of the A here. This part of the A. Okay, we're almost done with this word. And then we've got the K. So the K is a loop stem. So this is an ascending stem loop. There are lots of ways you could do the K, but for this style, I like this version. After you do the stem, you can do this line that comes in and goes to a thin line and then lift and then bring it back down. You could even add a little loop in there if you want, like that. Okay, then feel free to trace all of these little stars and the moon that I've got. Well, let me take a look at these questions and then I'll show you how to transfer this to a card and do some of those other fun effects that I showed you at the beginning. So let's see. Do you have any suggestions for line templates to use for blank paper? Oh, that's a good question. So I always use guide sheet paper when I'm writing. So just so you know, I wrote this quote on guide sheet paper and then I ended up scanning it in and adding the numbers and everything. So even though there's no guidelines for these quotes, I always recommend using guidelines. We do have a few options on our website for free paper or guideline pages that you can print on your own paper. I can get you the link for that at the end, or maybe we can do a recap in the email that we send after this with links to everything that we talk about today. So yeah, that's a great question. You can also Google calligraphy guide sheets or look on our website and you might be able to find them. But yeah, that's a great point. And then Gail said, with brush pens, I seem to lose the thin line when I go around a curve, no matter how lightly I go. How do I fix this? Can you give me, Gail, would you be able to give me an example of one of the letters just so I can specifically answer your question? But yes, I do have some tips for how you can make sure your curves are light. And then let's see. Do you lift your hand when writing um, a hand when writing when and why? Or is it on the paper all the time? Oh, like do I keep, yeah, I always keep my hand resting on, let me back this out a little bit so you can see. So I always keep my hand like resting on the page rather than floating it above the page. The instance when you might not want to keep your hand resting on the page is if you have a flourish. Actually, here's an example on the worksheet above here. So for this flourish, you could keep your hand off the page instead of like resting on it. I know it's kind of hard to see from this angle. Other than really big flourishes like this, I always keep my hand planted on the page. So, okay, I know there's a delay when questions are asked and when I respond. So, let's go back to the question about losing the thin line when going around a curve. So, one way that you can fix this is kind of what we were talking about before with lifting your pen. So, it is tricky to do, for example, for the letter L. This is a lot going on here with this letter. Like there's lots of pieces to think about, and I can do that easily because I've done it 100 times. No, like hundreds, thousands of times maybe at this point. Um, but if because there is so much to think about, there it can be tricky to focus on getting the shape of it right as well as the thick and thins. And so if you're getting a thick stroke on these thin parts, one thing you could do is lift your pen. Actually, let's take this stroke to make it a little simpler. So this is the compound curve. So if you're getting a thick line on your upstroke, if it looks something like that, I would suggest lifting your pen at the bottom so that you can kind of reposition your hand. And something that I do is I turn my pen a little bit. Like if my pen is like this, if I lift it up, I turn it and then I set it back down and go up because these are flexible, but they don't go necessarily right back to their original point every time you lift them up. So if you're pressing, 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 and then you turn it, it kind of resets, if that makes sense. But yeah, okay, so for the L, so if you're losing the thin line on the L, then here are some spots where you could lift. So right here, you could lift your pen. You could lift it at the very top here. You could actually lift it, let's see. Yeah, those are the two spots I would recommend lifting your pen on the L. Um, Let me just write lift so you can, if you're watching this back, you can see what I mean. So lift your pen here or here. Yeah, rotate the pen. That's what yeah, okay, like how you added the loop on the uppercase L. Yeah, and it is okay to add a little bit of thickness on this downstroke. Like if you're getting some right there, that's fine. Another thing you can play with is the angle that your paper is at. So you could, oops, you could turn your paper more this way, turn your paper a little bit more, and sometimes that can help. Okay, hopefully that helped answer the question. I can give more tips if you have more questions, but for now, I'm going to transition into how you can transfer this design onto a card. So if you want to send someone a card with this quote, you probably don't want to have all these numbers and arrows on it, although you totally could use this if you want. But more than likely, you're going to want to have it on a card that doesn't have those numbers and arrows and isn't just on your printer paper. So what I like to use is called a light pad. So I've got my template here resting on my light pad. I'm just going to use this one that I traced earlier because it just has the words, not all of my notes, and it'll be easier for you to see on camera. So I'm setting my worksheet on my light pad. So a light pad is just this, it's like a tablet, and if you press this button, it turns a light on so that it's going to shine up through the paper. So off versus on, you can hopefully see the difference on camera. And then you could take a piece of paper and set it on top of your template, and then you can see through, so you can trace over it without having to like write it with pencil and go over it with pencil. You can just do it directly on your new page. And if you wanted to make this into a card, then you'll want to cut your card paper into a rectangle like this, and then probably want to fold it down to the right size just so that you know you're putting it in the right spot on your card. So you could either put it on and then just kind of eyeball it to make it centered. Something that I like to do, I'm going to try, is to actually make the quote be at an angle. So instead of being straight on, it's going to go up like this. And then with the light pad on, you can just trace over it. Okay, so let's say you don't have a brush pen. You could use an iPad as a light pad, but I've found that if I do that, then it like um, the screen doesn't always stay on, and also you definitely wouldn't want to use something sharp because it could ruin your iPad screen. I've tried it a couple of times and I find that light pad is easier. You can also tape this to a window and trace it that way. You just want something where light is shining through. I've also seen people take like a piece of glass or acrylic and put it on top of two objects and then shine a flashlight up through. That's one way you could do it. Um, there's lots of ways you can get creative. And oh, could you trace it with a pen, then heat it once the design is? I think that would work. Are you talking about a pen where the heat, it's like a transfer pen where the heat makes it disappear? That could work. We can also we can also send a link to this light pad that we use. Jordan uses the same one in this recap email. Yeah. Okay, so the size of this card, size for this template is, mine is based off of this 4.5 inch by 5.5 inch card. So if you wanted to use the same size, you would just want to cut a piece of paper and have it be twice the height, so that you can fold it in half. Another tip that I was going to share at the end, but I'll just say it now, is you can print the template that we gave you. If you go to your printer settings, you can change the scale of it. So if you want to print this smaller, then go to like print, and then where it says scale image, you can scale it down to like 75%. You might need to try out a couple of times to make it the right size, but this one is 4.5 by 5.5 inches. Okay, whoops, my light pad's turning off. Let me turn it back on. Okay, so if you don't have a brush pen, you could use any pen and do what is called faux calligraphy. If you're not familiar, I'm going to show you. It's basically where you just trace the calligraphy, and then anywhere that you have a thick stroke, you make it an outline. so that you can use a regular pen. And for this, you can sort of ignore the numbers because sometimes it doesn't make sense to go in numerical order for faux calligraphy. I won't do this whole quote like this, but just so you can kind of see what it would look like. So I'm using you can use any regular pen. This one is a micron pen. And instead of using a brush pen, I'm just going over and outlining all of the thick strokes. And here's an example where you'll want to pay attention where the thick stroke is. So if I want to leave these gaps open of my outline, I would want to lift my pen here and then pick it back up instead of like drawing straight through the Y, if that makes sense. And once again, especially when you're tracing on the light pad, it can be tricky to get it exactly where the template is. So don't worry if you're off a little bit. Like mine is definitely not traced perfectly, but it's close enough. Okay, so once you finish, oops, I forgot I was going to make this at an angle. Okay, well, that's one thing you can do. Instead of making the letters perfectly horizontal, you could turn the template so they end up kind of going up. Oh, like I did here. So this, I made them going up. Anyway, okay, so once you finish doing the faux calligraphy part, you could then go in with a regular marker, like this is a Crayola. Well, you could leave it blank like this, or you could go inside these letters and color them in with a Crayola marker or different color pen and just color in all of those downstrokes with your color. And that looks really pretty. You could do patterns or different colors inside. You guys are all very creative, so I'm sure you'll come up with something fun. And let's see what the comments or questions we have. I'd like to change the size to smaller after I practice. So if you do print this at a smaller scale, you could still use, as long as it's not like a tenth of this size. If it's like 75% of the size, you could still use the same brush pen. There are some brush pens that can give you a smaller, like the Tombow Funosuke hard tip has less flex in it, so you can press down harder and it won't give you quite as thick of a downstroke. So you could use that. Actually, when Jordan comes back, she might have a couple recommendations for smaller brush pens. Oh, she just commented the Marvila Pen Flex are a good idea too. Okay, and then here, let me go back to this. So I already said if you don't have a brush pen, you can do this first idea that I showed you here using faux calligraphy. You could also just use a Crayola marker, and it's not going to be exactly as precise as a brush pen, but it's the same idea. I can press harder on my downstrokes, lighter on the upstrokes. Press hard on the downstrokes, light, hard, light, like this. And it's not perfect, but it does still give you that contrast between thick and thin, which looks really neat. Okay, give me 1 second so I can look at my list of things I was going to show you and make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so what we've done so far is we traced this template. Don't forget, you can reprint it and practice again. Then we transferred it to a card. So the way that we did that was by using a light pad so that you can see the template through your final card. You can use different pens to do this. Now I want to talk quickly. Oh, and then you can also tilt the paper so that your words are going at an angle just for something different. I want to quickly show you a few finishing touches that you could do for your card.
Before you do the finishing touches, can I come in with a brief intermission?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to reveal something for everyone that is in calligraphy school. So for those of you who are watching that are part of calligraphy school, we told you there would be a little surprise bonus. And so I'm going to show that to you right now. It is the new Valentine calligraphy workbook. And I just wanted to show it because I knew you guys would be excited about this. And this will be released in the classroom as soon as this video is over. Jillian's going to come back and finish teaching her special effects. I just wanted to show this to you now because I know you guys will be excited. So this is the Valentine workbook, and it's 17 pages total. So this is what the cover looks like. We do have a page that has some brush pen warm-ups for you to get started. And then the first 2 pages, if you're in school, you've already seen these. These are our February practice words. So we have a variety of February themed words in here. And then we have some Valentine phrases. So if you're loving what you're doing now in this template, you're going to love the Valentine workbook. So here's one of the pages. And for all of these options, we have the letters with the numbers, and then we also have the same words except without the, sorry, I said letters. I'm going to say arrows and numbers without. So if you wanted to just trace this directly and give it to someone without the numbers on it. So we have a variety of shorter quotes here for you. And then we have some more creative layouts that have some more kind of like decorative elements. Sorry, my lighting here is a little off. Okay, I'm not sure if that's any better. Okay, sorry about that. But we have some more decorative layouts here with some cute phrases. And then we have some other longer quotes. I'm sorry if this isn't showing up very well on camera. I hope you guys can see this okay. Oh, I'm seeing some great comments in the chat. It sounds like you guys are excited. Okay, so this is another page in the workbook. There's some flourishing in here. And then the last page is the same template that we're doing right now. So basically, if you are loving this, what we're doing right here, we have lots more pages for you in our Valentine workbook. And this is going to be released in calligraphy school right after this lesson is over. So if you are wondering what calligraphy school is, if you're not in it, then it is our beginner-friendly membership for learning modern calligraphy. And it has tons of worksheets in here for you. So this is our Valentine workbook, but we also have lots of other worksheets. So I'm going to show you some of those in case you're interested in joining. So we have an entire quick start course that teaches you the basics, starting with faux calligraphy, some more brush pen, writing your first word with a brush pen, doing some more practice. There's tips for lefties. Even if you're left-handed, you can do this. Some shorter quotes. And then every month we add seasonal practice words. So these are the February words going back January, December. So every month we add new seasonal practice words to give you something to practice. And then, oh, this is actually our Christmas workbook. So kind of like our Valentine one, but for Christmas, we have Christmas phrases. So we release themed workbooks like this throughout the year. And then we also have longer quotes. So these are like inspirational quotes. We have a variety in there for you, and we're adding new ones every month. And then we also have some more practical things too, like greeting card phrases. If you want to make a card for a friend, I know anytime I make a card for a friend, they always like to hang it on their fridge. And then we also have alphabet styles. So this is the modern alphabet. We have 5 alphabet styles in calligraphy school for you, including some flourishing. So if you are not in calligraphy school and you would like to join us, we'd love to have you. Everything that I'm showing you here, so the alphabets, the quotes, the workbooks, the lessons, and our new Valentine workbook are all, I have like this huge stack of papers now. I can't even believe how many papers I have right here. But these are all available for you instantly in school. You can see all these printable worksheets that are available. And right now, at the time of recording this video, calligraphy school is only $9 a month. So it's our membership. And if you're not in it and you want to join and you want to get the Valentine workbook, then we would love to have you. The link is in the description. It's just school.com/calligraphy. We just put it in the the chat as well. School has a K in it. That's the name of the website that we use for this. And then there's also a really supportive community. You can share your work, you can ask questions, and we have the best people in there. So all the comments that I'm seeing, here, everyone's saying how awesome school is. And we are so thankful for all of you that are here for the workshop. And if anyone else wants to join, we would love to have you. So thank you for that little intermission. Now we're going to get back to finishing the card.
Yes. And if she didn't say this because I was only half listening, because I was trying to get ready to respond to someone's question, but everything in those workbooks is real calligraphy that I did on paper, and then I scanned it in and added all of the arrows and everything. So it's not like a font, it's actual calligraphy
Yes.
that we've planned out. Okay, I did see someone ask a question about, can we use this template if you're going to use dark paper for your card? So one idea you could try, and I just hope this works live, but you could take the template and then on the back of it, color with pencil, or if you happen to have carbon paper, this would work even better, but color with pencil really hard anywhere that on the back of the template. Then put the template on top of your dark paper and grab a pen, and then you're going to want to press hard. Hopefully this works. Press really hard on the template with the idea of transferring. Oh, yay, it worked. Transferring the pencil to the dark color paper. Then once it's on there, you can go over it with whatever pen you're using. If you're writing on dark paper, you might want to use a white pen, which I happen to have one here. Something like this. So hopefully that helps answer your question if you wanted to do it on dark paper. But now I want to go back to finishing up some finishing touches of how you could turn this card into something a little more finished. So one really, 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 really easy idea that I can't believe I haven't thought of until like 5 minutes before this lesson started was to just take some stickers. These are stickers from my daughter's stuff, and just put stickers on it. And that's just gonna be like the world's easiest way to add a little bit of extra embellishment. If you have stickers, it's probably the easiest thing you can do. So that's one idea. Okay. The next idea for how to finish this off is let's do something a little trickier, is to do blending. So actually, you know what? Blending would have to be, okay, I'll show you blending at the end. Okay, if you want to finish off what you've done, let's say you wrote your whole card using a light color brush pen. Then you could add the ribbon lettering effect. Okay, let's see. I'm going to write the word love here. So let's say you do your card with light pink or any light color. I'm going to quickly show you how you can make the ribbon lettering effect that I showed you at the beginning with this Be Mine. So different word, but basically the idea for ribbon lettering is to take all of your thin strokes and make them darker. So in this case, I have light pink for my letters. I would want to grab a darker color pink and very carefully trace over all of these thin strokes. And this will give it a little bit more dimension. This will also be a very good way for you to practice your thin strokes and getting that light touch. And it's also okay if they end up a little bit thicker. It just gives it a really cool effect. So you could leave it like that, or you could even go in and outline all of your letters, outlining all of the dark areas and light areas with black or a different color. And that'll make it this ribbon effect. Okay, so that's one idea. So we've got the stickers, we've got ribbon letters. Something else you could do if you have a white pen, this is a white gel pen, is to add some highlights. So just starting on your downstrokes, on your thick strokes, you could take a white gel pen and quickly add just a little stroke coming down at the top of your downstroke, and that adds a highlight effect. So you could do it on marker, on faux calligraphy, just a little highlight to make it pop. Okay. Then let me show you shadow shadow idea, and then I'll show you blending. So on this example, you can see I've added a little bit of a shadow to the letters with that gray brush pen. So to add a shadow, you'll just need to take a lighter color brush pen. I'm going to use gray, light gray, and trace just one side of, actually this might look cool if I use a color. I'll use I'll use this light blue and trace on the edges of your letters like this. And it makes it look like a shadow. And then a really easy way to add shadows that I also was thinking about right before I went live is to take your template and put it behind your card again and just shift it a little bit to one side so that you can easily add your, okay, let me see. Okay, so if I have my template on top of, or my card on top of the template, then if you shift it a little bit to the right, now my template is still under the card, but it's showing up on one edge of my letters, if that makes sense. So then you can just trace the template again, lifting your pen, but staying on top of the letters of the template, and it will make it look like a shadow, like this. So that's a simple way to add some embellishment. Okay, and then last idea is to do blending. So blending is a little bit more involved. So the outcome of blending looks like this. So you'll need two different colors of brush pens. Ideally, one will be lighter and one will be darker. So I'll use light pink and dark pink to make it look like this. And I know it's going to sound really weird, but you're going to take the caps off of both of your pens. Take the lighter one. Let's see, get my camera set up. Take the lighter one like this, and then take your darker one and touch the tips of the pens together so that you're transferring ink from the dark pen to the light pen. Then when you write with it, and you could trace the template, I'm just going to freehand it, but as you write with your pen, it's going to start off with the darker color and slowly transition to the light pink. I think I held mine together too long because this is taking a while to blend, but you can see it's starting to turn back to that original light pink color. Let's do a different color to make it more of a blend. So let's see. I'll use this dark blue. I'm going to hold the tip of the dark blue pen next to the light pink one. And creates a really beautiful soft blend. So let's add some more. And this isn't going to ruin your pens. You can see you just keep drawing with it or writing with it to bring it back to its original color. But yeah, that's an easy technique you can use. Oh, it doesn't work for you? Okay, if that doesn't work, I've only recently, actually, honestly, today is the first time I've ever used that technique. Normally, what I do is I take something plastic like this, and then I color with the dark color on the plastic. Then I take the light color and go like this inside that puddle of ink. Then I write with it. It's just that requires having plastic and having an extra step, and then also having to clean off the plastic. So the tip method can work as well. Or if the tip method doesn't work, you can try the plastic method. Okay. Um, oh, thank you so much. So let me go back to the comments and see if there's anything that I've missed. So I know that this live has been a little bit different than normal. Jordan's daughter is sick today, so she hasn't been as on here as normal. Normally, one of us is. Oh, actually, see that she did just comment. Okay, I hope her daughter feels better. But yeah, so if you wanted the workbook that Jordan was showing earlier, then you can join our calligraphy school, which is $9. It's a membership, and you'll get everything. But I hope that you enjoyed learning this card today. Let's just see if there was anything left on my notes. So I showed you different ways to add embellishments at the end with stickers, doing the ribbon lettering. I saw lots of oohs and ahs for the ribbon lettering technique. I will say that it's one of my favorites and it's super easy. You just have to remember at the beginning to use a lighter color so that you can go over it with a darker color after and get that contrast. Adding the highlights and shadows, and one other really easy thing you could do, I did it on the word moon, is after you write the whole thing with your brush pen, you can go outline it with a different regular pen. And instead of doing it like faux calligraphy, where you very carefully trace the outline, if you do sort of a loose outline, like loosely trace it, then it can make it feel a little bit different of a look. So that's something you could try. And um, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go back to my face while we wrap up here. So you can let me know in comments if you have any last questions. Um, yeah, we hope she feels better. Oh, oh, just to clarify, everything in calligraphy school is digital, so it's all online, kind of like how for this workshop you got the PDF of the worksheet to print at home. So everything inside the membership is digital in an online portal that you can print, and you can print it personal use only, of course, but you can print it as many times as you want for yourself to trace and practice and trace again. Thank you guys so much. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you are able to use this quote for your Valentine. Don't forget there was another quote at the top of the page that just says, I love you. And then anyone who's in calligraphy school will get the full workbook that has I think it was like 15 pages of Valentine lettering, and you can use that. Just don't forget, Valentine's Day is a week from today. So if you want to use it, you should print it out soon so you can get your cards made. Yay, you're welcome. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate you being here live with us, or if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. And um, we will send out an email with some of the things that we talked about today, just to make sure that you guys didn't miss anything. So you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end this now, but hope you have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.